Hello, and welcome to the Social Studies mini lesson. Some of you may be watching on YouTube, some of you may be listening on a podcast, and some of you may be subscribed to my Substack. Whichever way you got here, I'm happy you are here. Three quick housekeeping items we will go over each time. Number one, be prepared. If you are listening on the podcast, grab a notebook so you can take notes. If you are watching the stream, you can take notes or even screenshots. Number two, pay attention. These mini lessons are meant to be just that, mini. They are not long and drawn out, so put the other devices away and pay attention to the lesson we are about to go over. If you are a paid subscriber to the Substack, you can ask any questions about today's lesson in the chat and submit your review answers in there as well. Number three, this is quite possibly the most important message. You are the captain of your own learning. You only get out what you put into your education, but no one can ever take your learning away from you. Showcase your knowledge on the subject by completing the practice questions at the end. And as always, enjoy today's mini lesson. Today, we will be discussing the Great Depression. The Great Depression in America took place between 1929 to 1939 and was the longest and most severe economic downturn in the history of the Western industrialized world. It began in the United States soon after the stock market crash of October 1929, which sent Wall Street into chaos and wiped out millions of investors. As consumer spending and investment declined, industries struggled and companies laid off workers. By 1933, when the Great Depression was at its worst, between 13 to 15 million Americans were unemployed, and nearly half of the country's banks had collapsed. Though President Franklin D. Roosevelt's relief and reform measures helped lessen the impact in the 1930s, the economy did not fully recover until World War II spurred industrial production. The first signs of economic trouble appeared in the summer of 1929, when consumer spending decreased, leading to a buildup of unsold goods and slowed production. On October 24, 1929, known as Black Thursday, investors panicked and dumped 12.9 million shares. This was followed by an even more devastating day, Black Tuesday, on October 29th, when a record 16 million shares were traded as panic intensified. The stock market crash destroyed confidence in the economy, setting off a chain reaction of financial failures that further deepened the crisis. Those who managed to keep their jobs saw wages decrease and buying power shrink. Many Americans, unable to pay off debts, faced foreclosure and repossession of their homes and belongings. Despite reassurances from President Herbert Hoover and other leaders, the economic situation worsened over the next 3 years. By 1930, 4 million Americans were unemployed, and this number grew to 6 million by 1931. Industrial production dropped by half, and cities across the country saw increasing numbers of soup kitchens, bread lines, and homeless individuals. Farmers who had already faced economic hardship due to drought and plummeting food prices in the 1920s were unable to afford harvesting their crops, leaving them to rot while people elsewhere starved. Banking crises in 1931 and 1932 resulted in widespread bank failures, eroding public confidence in the financial system. President Hoover, a firm believer in limited government intervention, refused to directly address the crisis, arguing that creating jobs or providing economic relief was not the government's responsibility. As unemployment exceeded 20%, Americans sought new leadership, and in 1932, Franklin D. Roosevelt was overwhelmingly elected president. Roosevelt immediately took action, declaring a 4-day bank holiday to allow Congress to pass reform legislation and ensure that only sound banks reopened. He reassured the public through his famous fireside chats on the radio and introduced legislative measures to stabilize industries, create jobs, and encourage economic recovery. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the FDIC, was established to protect depositors' accounts, while the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, was created to regulate the stock market and prevent future financial collapses. Roosevelt's sweeping economic programs, known as the New Deal, aimed to bring the country out of depression. Several major initiatives played a critical role in recovery. The Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, built dams and hydroelectric projects to control flooding and supply electricity to the impoverished Tennessee Valley region. The Works Progress Administration, the WPA, provided employment for 8.5 million people between 1935 and 1943, funding infrastructure projects and public works. These programs not only provided jobs, but also contributed to modernizing the country and improving public facilities. While the Great Depression persisted, Roosevelt's efforts restored hope and provided crucial assistance to struggling Americans. The economic turmoil of the Great Depression also contributed to political instability in Europe, fueling the rise of extremist movements like Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime in Germany. When war broke out in Europe in 1939, the United States remained neutral, but began strengthening its military infrastructure through New Deal agencies like the WPA. Roosevelt's support for Britain and France against Nazi Germany increased defense manufacturing, creating more jobs. However, it was the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 that truly ended the Great Depression. America's entry into World War II led to full-scale wartime production and mass conscription, reducing unemployment below pre-depression levels. The war effort revitalized American industry, bringing the country out of its deepest economic crisis and transforming it into a global superpower. Today's practice work consists of a multiple choice question. What decade did the Great Depression take place in? A, the 1910s, B, the 1920s, C, the 1930s, or D, the 1940s. A reminder, subscribers to the Substack can submit their answers and questions into the chat. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com, Shannon McNamara, or watch History in a Minute on TikTok at UDaleNisa. See you again next week.